had this friend who he passed away unexpectedly, and it was just, I mean, it was like my heart was ripped out. Who my friend was, like the most authentic person in the world, and yet it was so interesting because when you were in a conversation with him, this is all that mattered. The person that he was sitting across from, and that moment that they were creating. You can create those moments with people because that's what we're all craving, right? We're all craving to be seen.
A lot of people are like very different like on social media than in person, and so it's kind of hard sometimes to differentiate between who's like a true friend and a fake friend. It's not as easy to be yourself or like be truly who you want to be because there's the mask of social media, there's the mask of lots of things.
I think now we've gotten to this point where everybody's so readily available with social media. It's kind of this facade where we're there, but we're not really present with each other. I love the genuine connections, like, I don't know, ask people random things and learn more about them. But, you know, you always have to go through, oh, how are you? Oh, I'm great. Sabbath, I'm blessed. Are you blessed? Yes, I am. God's good all the time, and God is good. And so we never really get to know each other. Being present when it matters the most to people is something that is so invaluable.
I feel like presence, like someone being able to be with me or like with an experience, and also curiosity. So like when someone wants to ask a lot of questions, but they're also very like conscious of what's happening and kind of interested in what's happening. I've been really valuing like friendships where we can just be together.
My church is the friends that I can talk with, read books, talk about the books, tell problems to, we pray for each other. That's how I look at them more than, you know, going to some building and sitting there with the same group of people week after week. I think of them as my community, my church.
I think being a part of a community, I've realized now that you can't do it by yourself. It is impossible to do anything by yourself. I am not superhuman. I don't know everything. In fact, I know nothing. So, learning how to rely on others and the kindness of others and the willingness to learn from those who are wiser than you are.
In the evening when I'm tired, pull out my phone. It's kind of like you just sort of forget about everything else for a while, and it becomes almost an automatic behavior. You just pull that phone out and you look at it and you start scrolling through stuff and you get distracted into reading this and that. A lot of it, I think, has to do with just our inability, and all in it, my inability to just sit with myself, to sit with God, and then that extends out to being able to really sit with other people. We lose that ability to actually be present, be completely present to somebody else. I've seen it in my own family, and it bothers me sometimes when, you know, you get together for dinner and you have the extended family sitting around, and as soon as dinner is over, we sit down in the living room, everybody pulls out their phone. Our technology has made it possible for us to avoid each other and to avoid ourselves. It's a decision and not just a default. And then you have to recognize the times in which somebody actually needs you to be there. That's when you say, okay, this is where it's going to be helpful for me to learn some skills of listening and that kind of thing. But this person has something they need to say to me, and I need to be there to hear it.
The writer Will Schwalbe says that the gift of undivided attention is the most precious of gifts. That gift of having somebody look at and listen to us without distraction, he says, is the most precious of gifts. And yet we almost intuitively recognize just how difficult that is. There can be all kinds of reasons for that. It can be our schedules, the unrelenting nature of what comes at us, the stress of work or school, family, other demands. We have tests coming, boards coming, papers coming, quizzes coming. I'm on call. Or just the plain anger and violence of the public square, the political arena. All of them make it so hard to give others the gift of undivided attention. And then you come to church and have a pastor who stands up and says, pay attention to each other. And you're like, thanks a lot. I'm already feeling guilty enough. Now you're loading that on me as well. But maybe it's not just that. Stay with me. Because the truth is, there are many realities that make giving each other undivided attention very difficult. But none is greater than that little device about this big. Little device that casts a long shadow over our lives. Eric Pickersgill is a photographer. Photographer that has done a fair bit of really interesting work. Displayed it in art studios, online, other spaces, TEDx speaker, professor, very good. EricPickersgill.com. So he did a project just recently that he entitled Removed. Removed. So I want to ask you if you would pay attention, just watch the pictures, see what emotion they bring up in you. We're not going to play music. I'm not going to talk, just in silence. We're going to watch the pictures. See what you notice. I think I know the first thing you noticed. We all noticed. But did you notice when you smiled, when you winced, when you were surprised? I want to put up the last picture again, the picture of the theater with several hundred people in attendance. It's not quite as clear when it's blown up this big. When it's a bit smaller, it's very crisp and clear. I sat looking at that picture for a period of time, trying to find one or two or maybe three people who weren't staring at their hands. And it was hard to find them. Which makes me wonder this. What if 25 years ago, right here in this very sanctuary, 25 years ago, we were gathered here for a worship service, and I said to you, I want to show you a set of pictures from the future, 25 years into the future. And we sat here and we viewed these very same pictures. And I ask you, what did you notice? You know what I think you would have said? I think you would have said, in the future, people's hands are going to be like super interesting. Everybody's staring at their hands. It's like all these, what in the world is going on with hands 25 years from now? And thus it is, we have a very hard time with undivided attention. Just this little device that's brought so many good things into our lives, but it has been followed up by a lot of things that aren't nearly so good. So there was another photographer, this one in Paris, Augustin Lignier. Augustin Lignier did an experiment. He built a Skinner box. Some of you will know about the Skinner box. The Skinner box was what B.F. Skinner, the great behavioral psychologist, used as an experiment that became one of the well-known experiments of his day and time. So in the Skinner box, he put a mechanism by which rats could receive food. They could receive food when they pressed a lever, and pretty soon they became conditioned. Press the lever, receive the food. Press the lever, receive the food. They learned it, the Skinner box. Well, Augustin Lignier said, I want to try a different experiment. So he built a Skinner box. He included a camera so he could take pictures of the rats every time they pressed the lever. But he did one other thing that was different. Instead of every time they pressed the lever, they got rewarded with food, he gave them a sweet reward, sugar, a sweet treat. But he made certain that they received the treat intermittently. Not every time they pressed. So they would press and press and press. Sometimes the treat would come and press. And pretty soon the rats became so enraptured with the pressing that even when the treat would come, they would sweep it aside and keep pressing for the next one. Which caused an article in the New York Times interviewing and talking about Lignier to say this: digital and social media companies use the same concept to keep the attention of the viewer as long as possible, Lignier said. Indeed, social media has been described as a Skinner box for the modern human, doling out periodic, unpredictable rewards. A like, a follow, a promising romantic match that keep us glued to our phones. It's uncertain, it's unpredictable, but it's coming soon. This time. And we can't stop. It keeps us, you said, glued to our phones. And it is intentionally done so that you and I will have our attention captured, which then makes it difficult to sometimes impossible to give others the gift of undistracted attention. This can become a serious issue. So I had a sense that it was there, but I'd never taken the time to chase it out. But in preparing for this series of sermons, I did. So 12-step groups around the world for many years, for decades, have changed, have transformed the lives of countless people. Started with AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and soon many children followed. NA, Narcotics Anonymous, GA, Gamblers Anonymous, SA, Sexaholics Anonymous, OA, Overeaters Anonymous, many different 12-step groups. So I got to wondering about a 12-step group for these little devices that we carry around in our pockets. So, enter Internet and Technology Addicts Anonymous, ITAA. So this is from their landing page, their homepage on their website. They say, ITAA is a 12-step fellowship of individuals who support each other in recovering from internet and technology addiction. This includes social media addiction, phone addiction, video addiction, television addiction, gaming addiction, news addiction, pornography addiction, dating apps, online research, online shopping, or any other digital activity that becomes compulsive and problematic. What they're saying is we're a community, a fellowship of people who have realized that our lives have become unmanageable because we can't manage our devices. They have moved in, they have taken over our lives. Now, most every 12-step group, at least everyone that I know of, has a set of questions that they will offer to you as one who is investigating. Might this be for me? They'll give you this set of questions. Ask yourself these questions. The more you give the yes answer, the more likely it is you could do well in joining us. So ITAA has 10 questions. I'm just going to share 3 of them with you. Please don't raise your hands. 3 of them. So here's the first one. Do I ever go online to quickly check something and then discover that hours have passed? That has not happened to anyone at LLUC, I'm sure. 2, do I feel isolated, emotionally absent, distracted, or anxious when I'm not online? Remember that addictions are mood-altering experiences. 3, do I feel guilt or shame around my internet use? Do I want to hide what I have been doing from my spouse, from my parents, from my kids? Because I've spent so much time, it may not even be that the content is bad. I've just spent way too much time on this and I can't stop. ITAA says, join us because we can relate. All of that comes together to say that gift of which Will Schwalbe wrote, the gift of undistracted attention is the most precious of gifts. They combine to make that gift a very difficult gift to give. So what do we do? Today we're going to go to the book of James in the New Testament. James is an interesting book. It's a hard-hitting book. It's a book that some have struggled to understand a theme in common with every topic he addresses. Honestly, it can seem like James is jumping around from this to that and to the other thing, and you're trying to say, okay, I'm trying to follow you, James, but I'm not sure I follow. I finally concluded that the theme of James might be stated this way: the walk. The walk. Because I think what James is saying to his readers is, listen, I know you, you're part of my community, you're disciples of Jesus, you have a good talk. You say, this is who we are, this is what we believe. But he says, I'm no longer interested in that. I'm not interested in what you say, I'm interested in what you do. I'm no longer interested in the talk, I'm interested in the walk. Is your walk something that matches your talk? So in that vein, we come at the end of chapter 1 to a very brief, pungent, pregnant passage. It's not long. You'll have to pay attention. It'll be here and gone before you know it. But it has something for us, especially when we struggle with giving others the gift of our undivided attention. Now, in the larger sense, James is dealing here with our ability to hear the Word of God and to live it. In a more specific way, he's talking about our ability to manage conflict when it erupts in the community. But in what he says is a principle that can be transformative for giving others the gift of our undivided attention. So James 1, starting in verse 19. My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. Just that. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. We could, we're not going to, sorry to disappoint you, we could stand for the benediction. Because if we walked out of this worship service and went out into next week, powered by the Spirit of God, to do exactly what he says, be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, we would transform our relationships. Transformed. Because let me remind you, if you want to know what it is that you're listening to when you say, let everyone be quick to listen, I'll tell you a very simple way to tell. Ask what you're looking at. Most of the time, what we're looking at is what we're listening to. After all, when was the last time you're talking to somebody and they're doing this and saying, I'm listening. Yeah, I heard everything you said. Yeah, I'm listening. And what are you saying? You're not listening to me. You might even be able to parrot the words back, but you're not hearing my heart. I need your eyes in order to know that your ears are working. So it has a lot to do with what we're looking at to tell what we're listening to. And then it has to do with slowing down our mouths, because most of us live in that space that says, I just can't wait until this person stops talking so that I can say what I want to say. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was talking to somebody who said, there's somebody in my world, in my life, I think it was at work, something like that. Somebody in my world that no matter where we begin, we always end up on this person. That's all we end up talking about. You know, it could be something terrible. Could say to them, my father died. And they'll say, oh, let me tell you about when my father died. And 15 minutes later, we're still talking about that. Their father's dead. I don't understand this. It reminded me of the definition of a narcissist. You heard this? A narcissist is somebody who talks on and on and on about themselves and then finally says, okay, well, enough about me. Now let's talk about what you think about me. So James says, be quick to listen, slow to speak, and then way back there, slow to become angry. I love the way Eugene Peterson paraphrases this passage in The Message. Here's how he says it. Post this at all the intersections, dear friends. Lead with your ears. Follow up with your tongue. And let anger straggle along in the rear. God's righteousness doesn't grow from human anger. So throw all spoiled virtue and cancerous evil in the garbage. In simple humility, let our gardener God landscape you with the word, making a salvation garden of your life. Isn't that beautiful? Lead with your ears. Follow up with your tongue. Let anger straggle along in the rear. And what does he say? He says, post this at all the intersections. In other words, when we leave our homes in the morning, we leave them realizing we are going to face intersections all through our days. Those intersections are those places, those experiences, those moments where we're going to have to make a decision about what we do, what we say, how we act, where we go, how we treat others, how much attention we pay. Those intersections, we're making those decisions all through the day. And James says, at every intersection, put this on a post, put it on a sign, lead with your ears. If we're going to lead with our ears, it means we need to be giving our eyes. Follow up with your tongue. And let anger straggle along in the rear. Now, here's what is almost stunning to me. We naturally, intuitively, without anybody needing to train us in this, we flip that upside down in so many interactions. Since we've been talking about our devices, our phones, just think how quickly we do that with our devices. Parents get home from work, kids get home, spouses get home. Somebody wants to talk, come in and says something. The other person grabs their phone. They say, are you already on the phone? You're already on the, I can't believe you're. And the anger is right there and the words are right behind it. The ears are nowhere to be seen, by the way. And what's curious is that we intuitively know that the best defense is a good offense. And so now the other person says, you're the one that's always on your phone. Don't be talking about me. It is not me, it's you. It's you. You know the dance. And we have just upended what James says. Instead of leading with our ears, following up with our tongue, and letting anger straggle way down there, we start angry, we say harsh things, and we don't listen. So James says, lead with your ears. Lead with your ears. You're listening to what you're looking at. Lead with your ears. It's challenging because there's so much on those devices. I got off of social media several years ago because it was becoming too much of a black hole for me. I don't remember if somebody sent me this or if I saw it somewhere, but there's this little meme, kind of an internet cartoon that I love. I'm going to show it to you now on the screen because I recognize this meme. Man storming around saying, I don't have a Facebook or Twitter account, so I just go around announcing out loud what I'm doing at random times. I've got 3 followers so far, but I think 2 are cops. That's me. So if you see me storming around the courtyard announcing what I'm doing here and there, just say, well, Randy's on social media. So, but somehow that reaches out and it grabs us and it draws us in and it won't let us go. And it robs us of the ability to lead with our ears and then follow with our tongue and then allow anger to straggle in the rear. I love the theologian Kurt Richardson, just one sentence trying to summarize James's point. One sentence. Wherever wisdom is the goal, hearing will be a first virtue. Wherever wisdom is the goal, hearing will be a first virtue. Just spent some time the last 2 or 3 weeks in Dietrich Bonhoeffer's book, Life Together. He's writing this book about communal life, the life of Christians. He's writing it in a time when his country is being torn apart, when the world is about to blow up, and he's writing about Christian community. In that setting, when he gets to the actual practices of community, here's what he says. The first and the most important practice of a Christian community is to listen. Listen. Gift of undivided attention. Paying attention to others. 2 more scholars add this. Listening is an art that is difficult to master, for it means to take an intense interest in the person who is speaking. Listening is the art of closing one's mouth and opening one's ears and heart. Listening is loving the neighbor as oneself. Their concerns and problems are sufficiently important to be heard. So I got to wondering, what would it have been like in Jesus' life? Did Jesus pay attention to others? So I decided I'm going to do an overview. I didn't have one of these days, I'm going to do a deep dive. This really interests me, but at this point I just had time for an overview of 3 words. I said I want to look and see how the gospel writers spoke of Jesus when it came to seeing and hearing and touching. Jesus saw, Jesus heard, Jesus touched. Do those words appear? And if they do, what are they describing? Jesus saw. And I saw in the gospel record, Jesus walked by the Sea of Galilee and saw Peter and Andrew and James and John in their boats, mending their nets, and said, "Follow me." Jesus walked through the city and saw Matthew sitting at the tax collector's booth and said, "Follow me." And Matthew followed. Jesus stood in the crowded house and looked up at the new hole in the roof with debris falling, a man descending, let down by 4 ropes, and he saw the faith of those men and said, "Your sins are forgiven, so get up and walk." Jesus saw when they said to the mothers with the children, "Get away from him. He's teaching, he's preaching, he's busy. This is adult business. This is not." And Jesus saw and he said, No, let them come. These are what my kingdom is made up of. Jesus saw. He saw when the rich in their flowing robes, their regal robes, strode up to the large treasury and dumped the sacks, the chink of coin, the sound of money. Everybody's attention was focused. But when the sound died away, you can see her, can't you? Diminutive, almost afraid of her shadow. She slips over and drops in 2 tiny coins. And the text says, Jesus saw and said, "Biggest giver, bigger than all." He pushed his way through the crowd. They're trying to get him. It's an emergency. My daughter's dying. People pushing, pulling, thronging, and suddenly he stops. "Someone touched me." "What are you talking about? people climbing all over, about to tackle you. What are you? Someone touched me. And the text says, he saw her. And he said, daughter, all is well. Go home. God is with you. He hung suspended from the cross, gaping nail holes, screaming in pain, searing pain through his body. But none of that would compare with the pain of his abandoned soul. My God, why have you forsaken me? And then the writer says, he saw his mother. He saw his beloved disciple. And he said, your mother, Mom, your son. He saw. Oh, he listened. I don't have any question, but right now, he saw. And it wasn't the kind of seeing that we say, hey, did you see Terry at church today? Hey, did you see that man right over there? No, not that. Because in every case, after he saw, their lives were transformed. Their destinies were changed. Their experience of God was new. Because he saw. Paid attention to others. Saw. Heard. Now, saw is much more frequently present than heard, but rest assured, he heard. He heard the things that mattered. He heard them when they walked in and looked at the man and said, so, who sinned? This man or his parents? He was born blind. So, well, we're going to have a seminar this afternoon down at DeMazo, 4 o'clock. Come, we're going to have a panel. We're going to decide, mother, father, kid, who sinned? And Jesus says, none of them. He heard what they said. He said to the man, you're going to have sight. Then he heard they had excommunicated him, thrown him out. He chased him down because he heard that. And he said to him, do you believe on the Son of Man? I don't know who he is. It's the one talking to you. Yes, I believe. Transformed life. Jesus heard. He heard with that man who was a foreigner, NOP, not our people, not part of us. But he heard him when he came up in his military uniform and said, Jesus, my servant, very sick. Could you please? I'll do that. I'll come with you right now. Oh, no, not my house. I'm not worthy of that. But Jesus, I know authority. Look at my stripes. When I say go, they go. When I say jump, they say how high on the way up. I know authority. You're a man of authority. Just speak the word. Jesus heard that. Do you know how I know he heard that? Because in the gospel accounts over and over and over again, we find all kinds of people saying they're amazed at Jesus. The teachers were amazed. The Sadducees were amazed. The people were amazed. Everybody's amazed. But there are only 2 times, only 2, one of which is this one, only 2 times when the gospel writer says, Jesus was amazed. I know authority, Jesus. Just speak the word. And the writer says, Jesus was amazed. And he turned and said, I've never seen faith like this. Not in all of Israel. Go home, good friend. Your servant is good. Oh, he heard. And he touched. He touched. Took the blind man's face in his hand and touched his eyes. spoke to him to the degree that when the blind man's eyes opened, the first face he saw was the kind face of the rabbi from Nazareth. Feeling those strong, kind hands, he touched. The leper, I would be clean, Lord, I would be clean. As he comes, they part like the Red Sea and they're screaming, get away from here. You have no business here. Go, go. And it's to Jesus. It's as though, Jesus, you heal this other guy with just a word. Heal him with a word, but get him out of here. And Jesus says, no, no, no. And he strides to him and takes him by the shoulders and says, man, I do want you to be clean. So be clean. And he's healed. I wonder, what does it say about what he saw, what he heard, what he touched? You know what it says? It says Jesus paid attention to people. He heard them because he saw them. We're listening to what we're seeing. And he changed their lives. I love the sentence from Richard Foster who says, one of the greatest expressions of love is simply to notice people and to pay what? Attention to them. That's what Jesus did. Isn't that what James is calling us to do? Lead with your ears, pay attention. Keep your words somewhat in check, because too much of that and you'll stop paying attention. And let anger straggle way back there, because once that gets involved, your attention is largely gone. So those little devices that distract us so deeply. Secular social psychologist Jonathan Haidt has written some bestsellers. He currently has a bestseller called The Anxious Generation. If you've not read it, I highly recommend it. Don't agree with everything, but the research in there will give you a window into what's happening to our kids and to us. So Haidt, he does this thing with groups of people. He describes it. I'll use his words. He says, I do a little demonstration. I ask people, suppose a demon came to us in the 90s with 3 magical boxes. And he said, you can open as many as you want, but if you open a box, it's going to take 15 hours of your week from you. 3 boxes. We're all curious about what's inside the box. You can open 1, 2, or all 3, but each one will take 15 hours from you. The first box is the internet. You get this amazing thing, but it's going to take 15 hours a week from you. Would you open it? Are we glad we have the internet? He's asking this to his groups. Everyone is glad we open that box. We think the time is worth it. I would agree. It's a good thing. Many good things we can do there. The next box is the smartphone. You open it up. It's this incredible digital Swiss Army knife of apps and functions. It's going to take another 15 hours a week. So now you're up to 30 hours a week on this. Do you want it? Are you glad we have smartphones? Haidt says, at that point, most hands go up. The great majority of adults say, yeah, I'm glad we opened that box. Now we're up to 30 hours a week. Now there's a third box. Social media. Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, TikTok. All are going to take another 15 hours a week. So now you're up to 45 hours a week. What do you think? He's asking the groups, are you glad we opened that? The great majority of people say, I wish we had not opened that last one. Now, Haidt's words, talking to us. I'm not talking about keeping kids off the internet. I'm talking about not allowing them, with all these other apps, not allowing them to give away their data and some of their rights to a company that does not have their good interests at heart, that is using them as the product to sell to their customers who are the advertisers. And Haidt finishes by saying, that's what I don't want done to 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old kids. I don't think it's just the kids. Oh, it affects them in profound ways. Read him. But it's not just them. It's me. It's you. It's the most distracting device known to humanity. A lot of good things, a lot of downsides. 45 hours a week. And then you come to church, and the pastor has the temerity, the audacity to stand up there and say, pay attention to others. Where am I going to do that? I don't have any time. I mean, I have those 45 hours, but I don't have any other time. So I want to ask you this week, what if when that moment comes, you're sitting with your spouse, with your kids, with a friend, you have the opportunity to give them that gift. Set it aside. Set it aside. And listen. Lead with your ears. Look at them. Or you could just do what Jesus did, who saw them, or heard them, who touched them. In fact, why not this week? Why don't you just turn your eyes upon Jesus and then look where he's looking? Because when you do that, you will give others a most precious gift.